Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Natascha Viljoen, the CEO of Anglo American Platinum, which has just reported some outstanding results for the year 2021. Natascha, the record results of Anglo American Platinum, they show a magnificent contribution to society of an enormous 148 billion rand. Can you please highlight the details of this distribution of value to your stakeholders, particularly to the fiscus during these tough times of social grants?
Thank you, Martin. And I think that's a very good opening question for us to talk about the real value that we do generate as a mining company. To your point, we have contributed 148 billion rand to the South African economy. Now, if I break that down, 35 billion of that was towards taxes and royalties that went back into the fiscus. We've spent 14 billion rand on salaries and wages. We have spent 28 billion rand on local procurement, of which 5 billion rand was doorstep community spent. We've spent a further 2 billion rand on social investment like COVID support. And then we've made, which I think is a very important part and something we often miss, a further 14 billion rand in making sure that the assets that we have, we can sustain them and we grow them for sustainability of the business, and obviously to continue potential contribution back into broader society as we've seen this year.
And the 80 billion dividend equates to paying out every single cent of the headline earnings of Anglo American Platinum. Is that a first?
It is a first full year, Martin, that we've paid 100% of headline earnings. I think it's important for us to notice that we have been saying that part of our capital discipline, that we will make sure that our shareholders share in the benefits that we do create with a baseline 40% dividend. And within the framework of the work that we have to do, the future outlook of our markets, we felt that it's the best thing for us to give the money back to our shareholders. I think it's important to notice that it is the first real big payout to our shareholders in a number of years. So whilst all of the other contributions to the South African sector continue, our shareholders do not often see this kind of payout.
And why is it particularly important for Anglo American Platinum to be a leader in the fields of environmental, social and governance matters, the ESG?
I think, Martin, it goes to the heart of our purpose, reimagining mining to improve people's lives. It goes to the core of our value system. Over and above that, I think it is becoming more and more a prerequisite for us to do business. It's a prerequisite from our employees, from our social stakeholders, from governments, from our shareholders, that unless we can show that we are responsible, that we shouldn't be doing the work that we're doing. So that is at the heart of driving reimagining mining to improve people's lives.
And then the metals that you produce, they mitigate against climate change. Right now, as we speak today, they're helping. And in what do you see ahead that will ensure that PGMs are used even more intensely to preserve what Mother Nature has given us?
Yes. So as you rightly say, Martin, as in internal combustion engines, 70% of our product goes into cleaning the air of internal combustion engines. But I think what's really exciting for us going forward is if we think about the energy transition to renewables, one of the challenges with renewables, as we know, wind and sun is not stable. And we need ways of storing energy to have it available when we don't have sun and wind. So in the world of PGMs, hydrogen plays a very big role, both in the generation of hydrogen, the storage, the transport, and in the end use in fuel cells. Our product plays an important role in catalyzing all of those processes. I think the other thing that's really interesting is how the unique properties of our product also could play a role in batteries, where we are doing very interesting work with our partner Line Batteries. The role that our product plays, specifically palladium, in lithium sulfur and lithium air batteries, and also the application in lithium ion batteries to increase the energy density in these batteries. So the exciting thing about our product is it doesn't matter how the energy transition goes, we will have a role to play. The uncertainty of the future is exactly how that will transpire.
How close are your operations to benchmark? I know you use another phrase for that, but how is the performance operationally, and what key operational innovations do you see going forward?
So you're right, Martin, we're talking benchmark or P101 performance, where we're saying, well, P100 is the best possible and we want to be better than that. We are making progress and we are continuously on a learning journey. We've identified the areas in the business where we see the biggest impact, and we've driven towards benchmark performance in those areas in the systems for starters. And perhaps a good time to talk about our ICP that has impacted our performance over the last couple of years quite tremendously, where our ICP and the fact that the reliability in that asset was definitely not on benchmark level and not where we needed to be, caused quite a bit of disruption for us in 2020. The counter to that, as we've rebuilt it, we've built the P101 principles in there. We ran a really stable operation. We didn't run that furnace beyond design capacity. We really ran it stable, and we were able to put a large number of ounces into the market at a time that the prices were really good.
Yes, and what steps are planned now by Anglo American Platinum to slash Scope 1 and 2 emissions? And then what are your plans for the more vexing Scope 3?
Yeah. Well, you know, they say charity begins at home. So when we talk Scope 1 and 2, we obviously need to look at ourselves in terms of renewables and how we use hydrogen. So we do have a national strategy that we've developed with Group, looking at PV, photovoltaic, we're looking at wind. We also look at hydro pumping to both generate renewables and store. And we are now developing our own hydrogen world to be able to use hydrogen in greenhouse gases generated from diesel. To that extent, there's a couple of steps. First steps we're taking, we've started to build our own 100 megawatt photovoltaic plant at Mogalakwena operations, and that has the potential and certainly the plan to expand that to 320 megawatts. In addition to that, we will use that to generate our own hydrogen, to then use that in a fuel cell application in a 300-ton haul truck at Mogalakwena. That we will expand across a wider portfolio of work to reduce our Scope 1 and 2 emissions. Scope 3 emissions is a piece of work that is underway for us to work with both upstream and downstream. And we have built that ESG requirement in a couple of areas in our business, both from a procurement point of view, from a capital allocation point of view, to drive those input and then downstream applications or implications for Scope 3.
And looking inward again, can green hydrogen that you will be producing anyway play a role in optimally greening the processing of your ore, including the processing of your base metals?
Our plan on looking at renewables include all of our assets. Hydrogen is an option to store. In our smelting operations, it's slightly different to base metal smelting, like iron ore, for instance, and steel making. We don't use coal in the same way. So our processes are slightly different. But in terms of being a form of storage on the back of renewable energies, that would certainly be a process that we are looking at using.
And looking overall, what's the biggest message that you would like our readers, our listeners, our viewers to take away with them?
I think, Martin, it is the value in collaboration and the value to understand that we have a number of stakeholders and shareholders that work together for us to ultimately extract value from the ore body. The ore body we mine does not belong to us. It belongs to the people of this country. The money we work with doesn't belong to us. It belongs to our shareholders. What we as a team bring to the party is we know how to mine. We know how to extract metals at value out of our ore body. And when these three come together in good collaboration, we can really produce value or create value for all of our stakeholders.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Natascha Viljoen, the CEO of Anglo American Platinum.